Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Avini Vibes. Today is May 23rd, 2024. My name is Christy Rolando, coming from Warwick, New York. And I think we had a little bit of possibly a tornado, I heard today. Again, we had an earthquake, and now today we had some trees down. It was pretty vicious this morning. But before we get started, and we're not going to talk about the weather tonight, I promise, I want to thank Carol Witt for always being here. Couldn't do this without Carol, and she's just my wing girl. So thank you, Carol, always for recording and being there to support this call. We have a special guest tonight, which I'm going to get into in just a moment. But a couple of housekeeping things. If you have a question, you can go ahead and raise your hand after our guest speaker. And we'll try to get to everybody. We'll try to keep this to about 40 minutes. We try to get off of here about 10 after 8 or so Eastern time. And unfortunately, we don't have Chip tonight. So if you don't have your questions answered, if Dr. Chip's not in the house, we'll do the best we can. But if not, I'm going to reference a recording. If someone could just tell me the line that that Robin West did a couple nights ago on Tuesday testimonial. Someone can do that research and let us know and shout it out, or at the end give that information, because that was amazing call. Robin West interviewed Rick Deitch, our biochemist, and all questions were answered there. A lot of answers to a lot of questions that people had regarding, the new products and all. So if someone can do that for me, I really appreciate it. Give that info at the end of the call. Okay. So we don't make any medical claims. We're here to not diagnose or treat any disease at all. What we're here to do is to share, to encourage, to educate you. Many of you are already distributors in this most amazing company. We're so blessed to be here together and growing together. And also, you may have a guest on tonight. So if you're a guest, we welcome you to this great family that we have at Avini Vibes, at Avini Health. Awesome leadership, right, Carol? Awesome. Neil, Rick, Doug, and tonight, there she is. She's on camera now. So let me introduce her while she's getting settled in. Tonight, we have Barb Ostrom. Barb grew up on a farm near Omaha, Nebraska, and she received her degree in medical technology from the University in Nebraska in 1969. Barb receives her certification from the American Society of Clinical Pathologist by passing a national exam and licensed by the American Society of Clinical Laboratory Scientists. She was continuing her education because this is required to maintain these credentials. Now, sidebar, Chip told me she's the smartest person I should get to know. Anyway, Barb taught at the University of Nebraska and the University of Colorado in the medical technology clinical laboratories at these universities, and she worked for clinical labs in Billings, Montana's hospital system. After she moved from Billings, Montana in 1977, and during her childbearing years, Barb worked from home and she did insurance physicals. Now, I don't know if you've ever had an insurance physical, but they're very, very intensive. And Barb did this, and then she returned to Billings labs until after the pandemic. During this time of doing the insurance physicals, Barb was introduced to alternative preventive health technologies and their marketing. It was then that Barb says that through this marketing experience came into play, and she learned about medicine and prevention could work together. And when I talked to her on the phone the other day, I just felt so blessed, because Barb is the expert and very well sought after in this field. So we are blessed to have her tonight. Barb also retired from her lab career 4 months after, guess what? Joining Avini Health. Oh, and she became a diamond distributor in just 18 months. So let's put our hands together and welcome our guest, Barb Ostrom. Barb, thank you for being here. Go ahead and unmute. And we just want to hear from you, Barb. We want to hear all about your journey and your walk with Avini. And thank you, Barb, for being here.
You're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. And you can see, I have a messy office. So I'm just like all of you, regular person in love with life. And you're here for a reason. It's not a mistake you're here. And so I'm just delighted just to be with you all. So you had a question. You said why Avini and how I got involved and why. And I was really sick at a point. And I guess I could just say, I had blurred vision, short-term memory loss, weight gain, constipation, exhaustion. And I had like you draw a line through my body like this. On my left side, I had pain and numbness. And I thought, well, maybe I'm having mini strokes. And I was working in a laboratory, and there was all kinds of equipment, centrifuges, all kinds of computers, and computers with all the equipment and things like that. And very busy and stressful. And what happened was I thought, well, I had laboratory work done, blood work. I had saw my personal physician. I saw through the clinic, they offered ultrasounds of all your blood vessels and looking for things going on with that. And then neurologically, pain and numbness, you'd think, well, do I have a brain tumor? What in the heck? And so I had brain scans and body scans and everything. And my last appointment was with a neurologist, chief of neurology, supposed to be, he's chief. He did an exam, and even though I had pain and numbness on my left side, I was still strong. I still had strength. So I passed all of the testing. And the upshot of the whole thing, at the end of that appointment, he said, there's nothing wrong with you. All your tests are normal. All your scans are normal. Your neurological testing is normal and everything. Why don't we try some antidepressants? And I said, well, no, I'm not depressed. And one of the other things that was big was just short-term memory loss in terms of one of the things I would do, I would need ketchup for supper. I would go to the Walmart, not too far away. I'd have a grocery list. And I'd get in there, and right inside the door is a bunch of sales tables with Carter's pajamas, $5 a piece for children of all ages. And I had 10 grandchildren. So I spent an hour and a half picking out 10 pairs of pajamas for my grandkids. I got home, I didn't have the ketchup. So that's the kind of the cuckoo things I was doing, which is totally, you wonder if you're going crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happened was I knew that I was not depressed. And the other thing I thought about this recently, I wasn't going to succumb to it. I wasn't going to die. I just decided there's something wrong. We have to find out what it is and go for what we need to do to get better. And so, my colleagues thought I was nuts, basically. And I went home and cried. I cried. I was just, what? And so I just got on my knees and cried out in prayer and asked my creator, what is wrong? You know what's wrong. You're my creator. You know me, you know my body, you know what's wrong. And please help me. Please help me find what is wrong, where to go to find the solution. What book do I read? What country do I fly to? What person do I need to talk to? And just cried out in prayer. And it was probably a week. And I got a call I had discussed it with my friends, but I had a great colleague and friend of many years, and that's Deirdre Thornton in Bozeman. And she called me and she told me about these technologies. And she said, I'm going to have the director of environmental health and safety for the Trident nuclear submarine call you. And so he did. He called me. I was at work and I had to go in the break room and listen to him. But there was a chain of events through him that I was able to find the solution. And the main crux of the problem was that I did have toxins, which never entered my mind as something. And what boiled down to was I did have cadmium, a heavy metal, which I got from my mother. And she also, I got mercury from her also, and that was through mercury amalgam fillings. And then I had worked with mercury in the laboratory. And it just so happened that with all the EMF or radiation around me where I was working, and my cell phone and all the electronic equipment, I had a cell tower nearby. We had cutting edge technology in our home with computers and things like that. So I was exposed to high frequency radio waves. And now we know that high frequency radio waves will vaporize mercury in your body. And we actually have a film of that on Avini Health Training. And so the mercury vapors actually can come up. You can see them in this video, and there it goes all around your body, but your body can't get rid of them. The body can't get rid of those heavy metals because they actually incorporate themselves into your tissues, and your body's able to sequester them in places. But what happened was I hit the wall with my toxins. And I was able to get some protection for the high frequency radio waves. But then as I started to, as my cells started to open up and these toxins were still in my body moving around, I was still sick. And I had a friend call me and tell me about this new scientist who released this technology. Guess what? Zeolite. And it was with a different company when he first started out. And this was, way back at the beginning. And so I got that product. And it's amazing how when you're reaching out and looking and looking and looking, when the answer hits. And so I just bought everything that was the right thing. And eventually I was able to start dumping these toxins. My mother smoked when she was pregnant with me. She was a World War II bride. She was one of those beautiful women you see in the movies with their high heels and the beautiful skirts. And she married this handsome World War II veteran. I mean, she could have been in any of the cigarette ads or during that time. And that's what they did in those days. And so she was smoking when she was pregnant with me and my siblings. And cadmium, it was in cigarette smoke at that time. And not only, and now we know during pregnancy that the babies are born, that through the umbilical cord, they receive the toxins the mother has. So I was getting those toxins at birth. And I recently read an article where there's, these heavy metals are in breast milk too. And not only that, I was nursed and I had the breast milk with the heavy metals. And then also I had secondhand smoke while I was home for 18 years. But no realization. We just did not know about those things in those years. So
I have a question. I grew up in the same situation. Did your mom smoke in the car with no seat, right? In the car, we would have 5 kids. My mother be smoking, my father be smoking, and we all be in the car. No
with
seat
the blizzard, the windows rolled up, the heater going.
Yep, me too.
And my little sister, when we would get home, she would actually start coughing and sputtering, rolling around on the floor and turning blue. She probably had asthma. And our parents had no clue. So, and so that's the way our society was at that time. And we just had no clue about the toxins. And basically, wow, as Dave Johnson would say. So, so I need ketchup for supper. Let's load up a carload of grandkids and head out to Walmart. Be in and out in 20 minutes. I didn't even have a grocery list. And that's how my focusing returned within 2 weeks, being on the cell, on what we now know as Cell Defender.
Wow.
And so I knew Marcy Littlejohn from another company that I had been involved with, and she helped me and coached me on taking it. She, Chip and Marcy, and I knew about her experience with the product, and so I've known her that long. That was right way back at the beginning. And so what I did was I continued to take that zeolite through the years, and because I worked in healthcare, when they'd ask me when I'd see my doctor, I would say, well, you know, they want to know what else you took, what vitamins you took, and so on. And in those years, they laughed at you if you took nutrition. You were laughed at. In fact, you did not want to tell the doctor what you were taking. So, but I was so convicted by this that I would have on the things that I took. I was taking zeolite. And the hardest question I got about it was, well, how do you spell that? And so I had such conviction about it that I was taking it no matter what anybody said. And I was driving my own health. So I've had that version all through the years. And then when Dave Johnson, I've known him many years too, in that one company that Chip and Marcy were in. And he happened to send me a Facebook message about the nano silver. And so I texted him back and said, well, are you marketing this? And he gave me the website address. And that was when this was not marketed with Avini Health yet. And so I ordered that product, and it came, and I put 10 sprays in my mouth, sat down. 30 minutes later, my sinuses just drained. Thought, wow, this is a great product. And so I was just sold with these products. And I trusted these people. And there's just, I knew I was supposed to be involved. I felt like that I was supposed to really be involved and to do it. And so I did it. Shared it
Thank
with
God,
people.
right? Yeah, thank God you're sharing it with people.
Yes.
Well,
And
coming from your background too in the clinical lab, I mean, you
Mhm.
came from like that whole scientific clinical side of things, seeing
Sure.
so much, I'm sure, seeing so
Sure.
many other.
So doing the insurance physicals, we have 3 children. We when we moved to Billings, we bought 40 acres. We built several homes and remodeled several homes. My husband is in the engineering field, and he likes to build and things like that, and that's his expertise. And so we actually had a 40-acre hobby farm. I raised our kids with animals and taught them how to work as I learned how to work on a farm. And that's that work ethic. And I had great science teachers growing up. Always loved, for some reason, I always wanted to do the lab work. I love science. So something was heading me in the right direction, I think. You think of your life and you look back, and there were no mistakes in the lessons that I learned, and why I'm here right now. And that's the same for each of you guys. You need to really realize who you are and why you're here. Because we're all here for a reason. And every person I meet, every new person that comes along and joins us, they're just full of information, things you can learn from them, and they have stories. And this is what I love about this. All of you out there, I love all of you, and I love getting to know you, and I love learning from you, and I still have a lot to learn. You never stop learning.
No, you don't. You don't stop learning. Carol,
Yes.
okay, Barb, do you mind if a couple people ask a few questions of you?
Sure. No, I don't mind.
Anybody have a question? Eddie, you got a question? Eddie
Oh, I
Kowalski, thank
see.
you. Eddie's
I
Yeah,
the one.
recognize some of you.
Eddie,
This is
that
so
Eddie's the
fun.
one, Barb, that introduced me to Avini. I've known Eddie 25 years, and he shared it with me. So, Eddie, go ahead, please.
that was 35 years, but that's
Oh,
okay.
35 years. That's right. My son wasn't born yet. You're right. Woo, time flies. That's
Kudos,
right.
kudos. Uh, I heard something. I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that if a doctor or a lab practitioner or technician is in a lab and they drop a vial of mercury on the floor and it breaks, that it's mandatory to vacate the hospital. Is that true?
Well, at the time I worked with it in the hospital, that was not true. In fact,
Okay.
I was in during that time during my training, it was 1965. I graduated from high school and then I went right into, so let's see, about 67, 68 in there.
Okay.
When we measured blood gases like the carbon dioxide, we used an instrument called a sphygmometer. And every day we would pour the mercury into it because we were measuring the pressure of we were measuring pressure and the mercury was the gauge. So
Oh,
every morning we would fill that with mercury. And then every night at the end of the workday, we would pour the mercury back out into its vial. And during that time, this is how it was. And during those years, we never used gloves at all.
Nope.
In
wow.
fact, I worked I worked in a medical lab. My freshman year, my lab partner's husband owned a medical lab. And she sent me down there to get a job with him. And I actually washed laboratory glassware, everything, no gloves. And I remember just scooping the mercury if it spilled on the counter and just scooping it into the vial. You know,
Oh,
there
wow.
was no awareness or control about mercury at that time.
Yeah, yeah,
And we
I did hear that if that mercury was exposed in any environment in the hospital, that it was that serious. I guess my point is, it's that
Mhm.
dangerous, whether that is a myth or something, or whatever, but it's that dangerous.
It could be of late, but of late also they put thimerosal preservative in vaccines, and that has mercury in it. So,
Yeah,
what's the catch there? What's the difference?
right,
Um,
right.
I just think that now with all the different toxins we have here in our society, in our environment and so on, and people are getting sick and they're in lawsuits, and there's awareness now that people are becoming more aware of it and they realize what they have to do to protect themselves. And so it would make sense that when something like that spills, um, a hazmat type of a team would be cleaning it up. And now of late in the laboratory, we have cleanup procedures and tools that we use. Let's say if there's an acid spill or something like that, you know, it's way different than it was years ago. So
Yeah.
I've been involved with this for 54 years. So
Oof.
Wow.
I was at the covered wagon days of laboratory work. And
Yeah.
now we're at the realization cutting edge of toxins and how we handle them and everything. And so
Uh-huh.
when I started, we made our own reagents. We weighed out our powders. We did true chemistry. And today it's not that way at all because everything's advanced. You know, testing has advanced. So I guess I was exposed to things that I didn't realize were making me sick as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara, Edward has a question for you. Edward?
Sure, Edward. Where are you?
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Can you hear
hi.
me? Hi. Yeah, you reminded me growing up, we had mercurochrome as a cut. We put that on the cuts, which has mercury in it.
Yes, that's another one.
And
And
then,
you know, it worked really good, didn't it?
yeah, I'm sure it killed a lot of things.
Yeah. It was
Anyway.
bright orange and it stung.
Yes.
Really didn't want him to put it on, but it sure did stop. It sure did stop the infections.
Yep, but that was one thing. And the other thing is in high school, we did the chemistry and the mercury was everywhere, among other things. And so, yeah, that you're reminding me of those times. But the question I have for tonight is Avini has a product. Well, let me back up a little bit. So I'm having ringing in my ears for quite a while, and I'm looking for something to reduce that. And I'm looking at some of the Avini products, and you have one that's brain and eye, which is a nervous nutritional. And I'm just wondering, has anybody tried that, and what sort of effect did they have on ringing in your ears? Or it's not in your ears, but ringing in your brain.
So, Rick just introduced that at our Las Vegas event. And has it been a month that we've been using it? There it is. Christine's holding it up there. And in his presentation, he has each thing that's in it and what it does. And I know there's lots of testimonials coming out about it. So there's so many different reasons you can have ringing in their ears and so many different theories that it's hard to say. One of the things I can say is that I've been taking it. Right at the first intermission, I went and bought some right away, and I popped 3 capsules into my mouth along with the Cardio Plus. And probably after I got home about a week, and the alarm went off, and I jumped out of bed, and I didn't even put my glasses on, and I really didn't need my glasses. It's not that I have that big of a correction or anything, but I do feel I haven't had any profound experience myself, but I have heard of other people's stories using it. I haven't heard any specific thing about ringing in the ears at all. But the worst thing that can happen is nothing if you tried it.
Right.
And I've heard of other people using Cell Defender drops in their ears. And I know Chip and Marcy probably have heard more and done more with that. And so if I don't know, I get on the phone and start calling the people that have used the product longer, maybe have worked with more people than I have. I comb the Avini Health Training testimonial index and just put out the feelers. And I know there's a lot of material on advertising on Facebook and everything about ringing in the ears and different theories about it. So, but I know that our Creator knows what's causing it. And I always go back to specific prayers and asking. And just keep searching and trying. And these products are spectacular. I just have to tell you, when I was in my last year of school for medical technology, it was a hands-on internship in the laboratory. And I had a period of time where I was working with an oncologist in hematology, which is the study of your blood. And one of the things we did was we would make slides. We would attend the bone marrow aspiration of someone who they do bone marrows to see if you have a blood cancer or what it is. And so my job was to make the slides from the aspirate of the bone marrow and then stain them, and dry them and all that. And then we would get back together and look at them under the microscope. And this was a specialist in blood cancer. And he had his eyepieces on his side of the eye microscope, and I had mine on the other, and he had a pointer, and we were looking, and he was describing. And my point is that I actually had a revelation during that time while he was teaching me about these cells. A voice said in my head, something has damaged the DNA in the nucleus of these bone marrow cells.
Hmm.
And at that time, I thought, oh my goodness, in my lifetime, I'm going to be helping people find out their diagnosis, and the doctors can treat it and everything. But what I realized later was, what is that something? What is that something? And we know now a lot of these somethings that are causing these things. And we do know that the cell defender detoxolite takes out a lot of these somethings, the heavy metals and the phthalates, or the whatever those things are in Roundup, the plastics, all these things in some of our cookware that get in our food, when we're cooking. And so there's something that is causing certain things. And medicine starts to name things. They name all kinds of things with different names and everything. But really, to me, and this is what I truly believe, that our environment and the toxins are some of the main reasons we're having some of these symptoms that we're having. And by this wonderful technology of taking these things out of your body then can start to function. Whatever dysfunction is happening, it can be remedied by removing the things that are in the way, interfering with our normal functioning or sludging things up. And I really believe that if you really go on a hunt and if you embrace this technology, that you definitely will start removing toxins from your body. Specifically, sometimes when we try and address a problem specifically, I think of if you had a brand new car and you were buying the best gasoline for it, and someone poured a gallon of Karo syrup in the gas tank, would you know which filter was plugged, which gas line was plugged, which spark plug got ruined, and what would you name it? And that's kind of what's happened to us. We've got some stuff entering our bodies. We don't know exactly where it is and what it's doing. We've come up with a lot of names for things, but it boils down to me, I truly believe it's some of these toxins that we are exposed to are causing a lot of our problems. And
yeah.
I do know that the products containing the detoxolite are going to help pull out these bad things. And a cleaner, healthier body can heal itself.
Amen. Another
Barbara,
question.
We have another question. Enika.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Hi. I mean, your knowledge in coming here tonight, it's just really great to hear, and we really appreciate it. And I was just curious, when you start interacting with somebody who's using the Avini products from a preventative standpoint, they don't really have major ailments. They're relatively healthy and conscious about things. And they have all of the products. How do you suggest a person, if you have a suggestion, determines what starting dosage they should consider? And obviously in time you listen to your body and you kind of feel things out, but in starting out and they don't really have anything major, I usually suggest like the 4 doses of like 10 drops of Cell Defender to start, and then see how your body responds. But do you have things that like, what are some of the things that we should consider, within ourselves if we don't notice anything really a major ailment, just like should we consider our body weight, or our goals, what our plans are, or what are some of the things that we should consider when we even determine that for ourselves? Am I making sense?
Yes. So there are on avinihealthtraining.com, which is an excellent Google page that Rich Cotter put together. I sponsored him he sponsored me in another company and taught me a lot. And when I was sending him calls and things, he decided to put them and categorize them into this avinihealthtraining.com, which is a wonderful resource. And in that, there is on the PDF pages, there's a one, Udana Power made a one, Paige Wolf has one where they list the products in your pack and what the doses are. And these doses are on the bottles and things. And those are suggested doses, and it's a good thing to print those things out and have those for your people and go over it with them. One of the things with the cell defender I like to think about is that the cell defender is the smallest he's made, smaller than your red blood cell. It can go all through your blood, goes out through your kidneys after it picks up its load of toxins, and it goes out in your urine in 4 to 6 hours. So, and it's he's perfected into such a good product that, it might say 10 drops twice a day on the bottle, but if you think about it, you could use 5 drops 4 times a day, and that's still 20 drops. But if you take 10 drops in the morning and 10 drops at night, what happens in the middle of the day after 4 to 6 hours? Why not take it 4 times a day? And then you have more of a flow, just as a preventive type of a thing. And to me, there's few people that don't have some change in their focusing and things like that. Yeah. And you had some people say, "Oh, I'm not toxic. We grew our own food and lived on the farm and everything, and well, sometimes I say, well, have you ever thought of getting a heavy metal screen and just seeing if you have any? And if they do, guess what? It comes back positive every time. And so, they even have hair samples or whatever, whatever you can do to help them really see that they are exposed to toxins, and they probably have some around them, and even if they don't have a body burden, they probably have some they're being exposed to. And so it's really important to help people realize that we do have a toxic environment, and if we aren't sick, we will be. That's just what will be happening. And
I was at the grocery store today, Barb, and I was amazed because they put up these yellow flags around all the grass, and they were spraying, and it just alarmed me because it said "Do not walk your pet." Well, guess what? And that was right at outside the grocery store where people are parking and walking, and we were exposed. So yeah. We all are burdened.
And it's on TV. Everybody's suing somebody because they were poisoned by something. And there's some people that say, well, we're all exposed to all this. I'm not going to worry about it. It doesn't involve me. And we have to turn that thinking off. We have to somehow turn that thinking off, because they're a ticking time bomb. It's a ticking time bomb. And there's so many things you can do to avoid it. I do not ever want to go back to how sick I was, ever. And so I will I will stick with people even if they're using the product and they haven't felt anything profound, or maybe they may be having some detoxing symptoms of some kind. And so then their response is, well, I'm going to quit taking this, and just be there with them, be encouraging, be a friend. Something will happen where they will use the product and they will have an experience eventually, or someone they love. Well,
absolutely.
Eventually.
Absolutely.
It's so, our environment is such that people that you love, there are people you love getting sick.
They're all around us. They're
You
all
would have
around
to
us.
be you would have to be a hermit and never go anywhere or talk to anybody to not know someone who's sick from toxins. It's that rampant in our society.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Any more questions? We're just about out of time. A couple of minutes. Was anybody able to look up that recording, the Avini Health training that Robin West did on Tuesday? Can you tell us what line it is, Inika?
Yeah, if this is the one, it was from May 22nd. Is that possibly that one? It
Yep,
was
that's
Robin West, Avini Family Business Training. It's about 72 minutes. It was about learning from successful people, not reinventing the wheel. It's line number 88.
Okay.
The
All
Avini
right.
Health Training, line 88.
Okay, great. Yeah, she did a great job interviewing Rick and answering lots of questions. That's the one we were looking for. Eddie, do you have a hand up?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Barbara said. You know, the World Health Organization said 99% of all disease, impediments, anything going on in our body is contributed to heavy metals and environmental toxins. That's it. You can Google it and put it next to anything that's come up in your body, and nano, cell defender, and then of course add the mushrooms and the fiber. We cover, I know, the cardio and the eye and the brain. We cover the entire body.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that's going to come in our body that Rick hadn't developed that can't help improve your circumstances or reverse it. Nothing. There's nothing that can impede our body that we don't have on the shelf that can't take care of that.
Thank you, Eddie. And Edward, you had a question too. We had
Well,
two Eds tonight.
Actually, a comment.
Sure. Thank
There
you.
was a researcher that was checking for lead in the environment, and he couldn't get a zero reading on his instruments until he went to the Arctic and dug into the snow 10 feet. And that was the only place he could find, because apparently the lead in our gasoline has gone around the earth. So it's very hard to find a place that's not contaminated.
Wow.
Yeah, that was another comment that I heard from I went to a naturopath with one of my Avini clients, and the naturopath said that during that post-World War II time when we were babies, I'm 76, when I was a baby, that there was a lot of lead in the gasoline and the mothers who were pregnant were being exposed to that. And then there's a lot of women in my age group that did get lead from their mothers, and it goes to your bones. And that's our age group have that problem from that leaded gasoline.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this was amazing. I mean, time flies because I could listen to you all night long, Barb. Thank you. Thank you so much. Your knowledge, your
You're welcome.
experience. You're a blessing that you're with us tonight. And we're grateful. Barb's out in Montana, so I was sharing with her. I went on a horse trek to Montana once, and it was the most amazing thing I ever experienced. Straight up those mountains, beautiful country. So before we leave, let me just remind you, 622 Idaho Falls. That's the Health Yes Vision Tour. 622. And then 810 is Minneapolis, Minnesota. 914 Portland, Oregon. 1012 Arlington, Virginia. And 119 Boca Raton, Florida. So it's on your back office. If you're a distributor, go grab your tickets and definitely get there. And hopefully we'll have an opportunity to see you all at these events. But God bless each and every one of you. Carol, thank you for recording. Thank you for all of you taking the time tonight to be with us. And we will see you next week, okay? Have a blessed night and keep Avini vibing. God bless. Thank you, Barb.
Bye, everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
Bye.
Barbara.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Love you. Love
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Barbara.
Bye,
Thank
Barb.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Barb.
you.
Really
Thank
grateful.
you.
Bye.
Bye.